Okay, let's do some yoga. We're going to start out on our feet. So inviting you to come into kind of a goddess squat. Feet are a little bit turned out. And just take a few moments to explore what's going on in your knees today. So I like to do that with my hands as support, just to explore how deep can I go, what kinds of sounds do I hear in those knee joints. Awesome. And then we're going to add arms. Inhaling, sweep up. You might straighten those legs. Root and reach. Is there more inhale? Exhale, slowly fold. And you can let the head hang completely. Inhaling, root and rise. Asking, is there more? And exhaling, fold. Now remember, you could just go hands to thighs, and you don't have to go all the way to the floor. We're interested in lubricating the spine, the hips, the knees, the shoulders. You can even roll the wrists when you're up top there. Would it feel good on your exhales to add some sighing breaths? We're going to continue like this for a few rounds. This is a chance to, again, warm up the body, but also really start to attend your mind to the breath. Attach it. It's like you're seeing where the breath is filling and touching the body as you're moving. You're asking, is there more inhale, more exhale? And we're looking for the treasure of the gap or the pause, the moment between inhale, exhale, between exhale and inhale. If you're turning your face up during those inhales, just make sure you're not feeling neck strain. You can also keep it neutral. And as you fold, your chest precedes the head. The head is last to hang. Let's do about 3 more. This is a great time to add your points of introversion, as I call them, the inward gaze, looking up and in, or your eyes are in a soft drishti gaze. Light connection, tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, and your soft ujjayi, great sounding breath with that throat creating a little valve. And the next time you have folded and are hanging downward, see if you can spread those feet out. Again, you could be hands on thighs if getting to the floor is not comfortable. Take those feet wide and parallel best you can, and just start moving side to side. The more inspired you can make this, meaning the more your body tells you what to do, the better. So if you get to a really great spot and you just want to hang out there, adjust it a little, get organic, great. And the next time you're to one side, invitation to hold, deep breath, and see if you can deepen the fold. Use that powerful core to draw towards your spine and fold more deeply. Exploring the other side. Is it different? What's in that inner thigh, in your waistline? And slowly back to center. Walk those feet in and come on up. Big root and rise, big glute squeeze forward, and resolve in prayer hands. Pause and tune in. What's happening in your heart rate? Hopefully we've felt a little heat. Let's roll out those ankles. We're going to come into standing quad stretch. If the balance part of this makes it hard to get the stretch, go ahead and grab onto a wall or something. We're going to clasp one ankle at a time. You could also do a bow pose on your belly if you're preferring that. Otherwise, clasping one ankle, bringing that knee back towards your standing leg. Good, nice glute engagement forward. And my hope is you're feeling a stretch through that right hip and thigh if you've got the right ankle. So If you're not, consider letting that bent knee come back a little bit and rise up through the heart. You could even add a reach with the free arm. And at some point, release, give it a shake, and let's explore the other side. This is such a great stretch for all those muscles that get so hyper tight from sitting a lot in particular. And as we engage the glutes here, we're really waking up that back body like we do in bridge pose. Again, the bent knee is coming towards the standing leg and back a little bit. Deep breath. And in your own time, release and shake it out. Nice. We're going to go wide on the mat again in our straddle. Turn that right foot 90 degrees and pump the hips towards that right heel. Again, exploring what's your range of motion today. And then switching. Again, we're really curious, is one side different? You know, if we're a lot tighter on that inner thigh area, that can communicate a lot to the low back and even up the waistline. Nice. And we're gonna switch. So we're back to right foot pointing towards the end of the mat. And I wanna come into our triangle hips. So we're just gonna cock that right hip down. Make sure that the straight leg at the front is straight and not hyperextended, so it's engaged through the thigh muscles. And just hands staying on hips, so we make this really low intensity. We can explore safely as we slowly start to reach our crown of our head towards the wall beyond that right foot. And even if you could release the arms, just check it out. If you keep them on the hips, I often find my body will let go in a different way because it feels safe. I'm not taking it to this intense edge. So let's do one more deep breath. Big inhale. Exhaling. See if you can deepen that extension through the body. Ah, good. And come back up and switch. Again, we're curious, is this side different? Get your foundation through that left thigh. Cock that left hip down. We want to have the torso straight back in alignment with the legs and then also the head. So hanging out here, breathing, exploring. You can turn the face however is most easeful for the neck. Just try to keep those shoulders stacked. Good. See if you got one more big breath. And come back up. Nice. We're going to come into a little goddess squat here. We're going to build some heat and again some attention. So I've got my feet just comfortably angled. If you kind of jump, however they land is kind of what's a natural angle for your knees and so on. And then just make sure you're connected in the core so you're not arching or tilting that tailbone back. Arms are in our goalposts, as I think of them, but our goddess arms here. Fingers spread actively. If this bothers your neck, bring those elbows down. Otherwise, try and keep them high. Nice ujjayi. Close the eyes if you don't need them open for balance. And really go deep inside the sensation here. There's a lot going on in the body. Bringing alertness to the entire footbed as it's rooting and anchoring, the entire hand as it's expanding and reaching open. One more full breath here. And release. Let's bring those legs in a little bit. Roll those ankles out. Good. We're going to just come into what I call just an athletic stance. It's sort of like goddess squat, but just not so wide. Feet are a little bit wide. And we're going to sweep that right arm back and then across. And we're doing some nice warming up of the spine and the waistline before we take it into thread the needle here, our standing thread the needle. So I hope you get to notice, like, wow, yeah, there were some tight spots I didn't even know were here, and this just feels really good. And as you're ready, hold that right arm across, shoulders anchored. Press with the left hand, the elbow towards the body. Ideally, keep that right arm straight. Good, breathing. Take breath into the back body, into the ribs, the lungs back there. And at some point, you might kind of tilt downward to the left to accentuate that side body stretch. And then just throw it away. Inhaling, left arm sweeps behind, exhaling across. So you can see I've got my knees bent. I'm really using my core, almost kind of cat back a little bit as I'm sweeping across. Really waking up the core body. I like to say yoga changes the way we do everything else. The breath is, I think, the main part of that. But also it's that getting so beautifully into our core and our strength and our center that everything becomes easier and more awake as we move through the world and what our life asks of us. And so crossing that arm and hold, deep breath. Where do you feel it moving? Fabric against your skin. And you might tilt down a little to the right. And throw it away. Good. And let's just circle the shoulders out a moment. And then love up the neck. So if you take your hands in the little collar, as I think of it, fingertips are just touching at the back to provide support, and taking the head around kind of the rim of the collar. And you can just do this very lightly, especially if you're quite stiff. And then if it feels appropriate, you might even add a little tractioning from one of the hands to kind of press up on the base of the skull. We tend not to be aware of how much tension is contributed by these big guys, the SCM, sternocleidomastoid, that connect up here to the base of the skull and wrap around. And they can get really tight and kind of make us feel kind of not great and not fluid, but they're what I call a silent partner. We don't even know it's a problem usually. Good, and then shake out those hands. Yeah, how much hand and wrist stuff have you been doing, computer or otherwise? Again, recognizing that that can get all of this whole line involved. So I like just taking my hand and giving it a nice squeeze, like you're making bread dough. All right, we're going to come to the front of the mat, and our standing pose beginning for Warrior Series and anything else is mountain. So we've got our feet, you know, right below the hip bones, maybe 6 inches apart. And I'm going to ask you to right away engage into your jet airplane arms. So I'm rotating my shoulder heads down and back, palms facing forward. And check in with the neck, that it is free and easy in spite of all this body engagement. Find your drishti gaze, light connection to the tip of the tongue, and as you're ready, inhaling, root and rise, sweep up, press the hips forward, bring those palms together if you can, exhaling and fold. Let the head hang. Again, if this is too much, you take elbows to knees. Inhaling, root and rise. You can drop the butt way down before coming up if you'd like. And exhaling, fold. So we're going to do a few more of these, asking you to find your range of motion, your breath pace, but always asking, is there more? Can you find the gap or pause? You might enjoy on the fold, bringing the hands behind the calves and deepening the fold as if you want to basically lay your chest on your thighs. Last one, nice deep fold. On your inhale, plant the hands on the shins and extend the spine halfway up and hold. So we're going to explore this pose a moment. It's one that we often experience in transition. But I want you to check where your weight is in your foot. Ideally, I want it in the whole foot and kind of midfoot, not back in the heels and not too far forward. And then see if you can get the spine truly straight. And by the way, if this is too much of a pull behind your knees or into the butt, just bend the knees. They don't have to be straight. Find that long line, tailbone to crown of the head. We're not looking forward. Good. See if you've got one more long inhale. Exhaling, fold. Inhale, extend halfway up. Hopefully your body finds it easily now. Exhale, sit to chair. So we're going to drop the butt on down. Your chair might be up here, it might be a bar stool. Otherwise, explore. You might check your knees and make sure that they're tracking with your feet. We don't want them angled in or out. See if you can find a little rising and settling with the breath. One more. And this time we're going to settle all the way down onto our butt on the floor. You don't have to get there this way. We're going to come all the way to our back body for bridge pose. Plant the feet right between the knees, Anchor the upper arms tight towards your ribs. And on your exhale, press on up. Again, full footbed is anchoring. Check with the ball of the big toe and make sure it's connecting with the earth, thighs engaging towards each other. Let's do a few rounds of inhaling, descending as slowly as you can. Again, that's going to wake up that back body, hamstrings and glute muscles. And exhaling, pressing up. Knees pressing away from you. Heart drawing towards your chin. Inhaling, slowly descending. And remember, you don't have to go super high to get some good effect. So especially if you're feeling a little bit funky in your low back, you might focus on smaller movements and just really being attentive to what's happening. Last one here. And release. Cross the right ankle onto the left thigh. Feet are flexed as we bring the whole deal towards our chest, clasping the right knee. So this is our reclined pigeon. And we're going to rotate a little to the left. And I'd like you to just explore angles here. This is the gift of the reclined version of pigeon, is we have a lot more freedom to move in the pose. We don't have all our body weight pressing onto that knee. So I can hug the knee really tight, and I can let the foot kind of move a little away. I can also clasp the foot. And of course, you can move a little right and left and just see, where is that just right edge? Breathe into it. And slowly back towards center. And we'll switch. Sometimes it feels good to me to take that knee that we were just stretching and holding and give it kind of a kick to release it. Left ankle crosses onto the right thigh. Feet are flexed. Hug the whole deal to your chest. If you can't comfortably lift your floor foot, then just leave it there and hug the left knee. Shoulder heads are anchoring and exploring. Again, you might kind of move your knee closer to you and then your foot. Find that just right angle. Go to the right and breathe into it. It's kind of fun when we release tension through the hips. There's always an opportunity also to let go through the neck. So again, any organic movements you're inspired to make, do. Come on back to center. Again, you might give that knee a kick. We're going to take those feet wide. I've got mine right out, in fact, beyond the edges of the mat. Just slowly lower one knee towards the mat, kind of a windshield wipering, then the other knee. And you can keep the kind of upright knee either totally upright or let it go a little out to the side. It's just kind of what feels best to you today. And then bringing those feet in for butterfly. Now you can either just bring them together and let the knees drop out for a passive butterfly, or bring them towards you, clasping with the hands. And here you can add all kinds of little organic movements. You can rock a little bit. You can do, again, a little windshield wipering, as I think of it, bringing one foot towards the head and then the other. If you're in that more relaxed butterfly, you can also kind of flap your wings. And we're going to return to bridge pose to add our leg extensions. What I find is no matter how many times you've done this exercise, it's useful and it continues to change, right? Because it's responding to whatever we've been doing today, yesterday, this week, and what the body needs. So make sure the feet are fairly close together, and then just lift one foot off the floor. Let it hover a little bit and return, and then the other foot off the floor. And if that feels pretty intense or like plenty, just keep doing that. Otherwise, extend through one heel at a time. Remember, you're keeping your thighs the same height. You're not raising up to the ceiling. You're kind of reaching out towards the wall in front of you. Trying not to use the neck. Sometimes it helps to work the arms a little tighter underneath you, like we do in bridge pose. Breathing. I like noticing how after a few rounds, my body definitely feels more stable. And so you can feel good that you're giving your body what it needs to recover from, too much sitting or forward work, lifting, and that kind of stuff. And release. Go ahead and hug knees to belly. Just give it a little love. And we're going to come to standing, our mountain pose. If you like spinal rocking, you could choose to get there that way. So once again, finding your powerful but peaceful stance, jet airplane arms or prayer hands. We're going to come into our standing crane. So lifting the left knee, add your yoga toes, peel those toes open away from the ball of the foot. Good. Notice all the good work happening in the standing leg. Nice long inhale. Exhale, see if you can extend your left leg straight forward. Even if it's down a little bit, try and get the knee straight. Really work the thigh, and then release. And step back, crescent lunge, high lunge. Inhale, express through your arms. You could be jet airplane, or out to the side, or all the way up. Again, breath rises and settles us, so there is no stagnation. Take one more long inhale, slow, deep, and wide. Exhale, stay where you are with the legs. We're going to fold or hinge through the waist into a little bit of a jet airplane here. So I'm trying to take my crown towards the wall in front of me, upper arms squeezing in towards the body. One more long breath here. Inhaling, sweep up, and exhaling, forward fold, front of the mat. Inhaling, extend halfway up. Exhaling, sit to chair or bar stool. You could also have the balance challenge, lifting through the heels. Nice deep breath here. Notice that when we're balancing, it's so easy to squish your tongue or furrow your brows. Try to stay soft, maybe even add a smile. Inhaling, root and rise. Exhaling, resolve, prayer hands. Right knee lifts, standing crane, yoga toes. Stay broad through the chest, really feel the strength in the core and back body. Is this side harder or easier in terms of balance for you? Nice long inhale, and then exhale, straighten forward through that right leg, powerful, really engaging the thigh muscles to get the legs straight. And release, swing it back, crescent lunge, pause, hip bones steering forward. And again, express yourself and let breath bob you on its waves. Working through that right thigh to press back behind you. That's your foundation to now reach forward through the crown. I want to make sure that the core is tucked up into me, that I'm not kind of arching and collapsing. Jet airplane arms. Remember, you don't have to go parallel with the floor, right? You might just be at a little bit of an angle. Left hip bone steering back, right hip bone steering forward. That's what's going to make for our strong foundation. Feel those thighs working. Awesome. Long inhale, root and rise up, back bend if you want it. Exhaling, forward fold, front of the mat. You might give your head a little yes shake, no shake. On an inhale, extend halfway up. And exhaling, sit to your chair. Good. Again, make sure that that tailbone is neutral, not reaching behind, because that's what's going to get these glutes fired up the way we want. Long inhale, root and rise. And exhaling, prayer hands. Pause, notice heart rate, temperature. We're going to step sideways on our mat again. Nice big launch. And as you're ready, we're going to come onto our balls of our feet here if you can. So turn your toes out a little bit and lift the heels. Now, maybe they're just coming off like a quarter of an inch. Maybe you can come into kind of a full lift. If this isn't making you shake or quiver, you must be doing it wrong. It's just challenging, no matter how you look at it, but I hope good challenging. If this is too much, relax the heels back to the floor. Otherwise, let's add our little mudra here, index finger and thumb together, and we're going to add a little Kapalabhati breath. Nice long inhale, exhaling through the nose, big compression through the belly, like so. Kapalabhati is great for moving stagnation, so if you've been kind of ho-hum or irritated or anything else, move it through. Just a few more. Maybe you can go a little lower in the squat if you really want to feel your thighs tomorrow. And then inhaling, root and rise, sweep up. And exhaling, prayer hands. We're going to be moving onto our hands and knees in cow-cat. If you want to just rotate, plant, and step back downward facing dog, of course you can do that. Otherwise, come on into your table pose here, intelligent hands, fingers spread. Inhaling, draw the heart forward. Asking, is there more? Exhaling, cat back. And we'll do a couple like that. I find it feels great to, again, make it organic. So sometimes I'll take my hips back a little bit during cat back, or I'll hold in cat back and kind of stretch through the side body, kind of wag slowly. At some point, join me holding kind of in that cat back. So just by that I mean just really feeling that core support. Then neutral your spine, table pose, and we're going to inhale, extend right arm, left leg. Hold. Notice if you dropped your chest or ribs and come back up. On an exhale, come back as slowly as you can to table. Good, and again now other side. Inhaling, extend left arm, right leg. Is there more? Confirm your alignment, all that wonderful core engagement. And on an exhale, slow return to table. Inhaling, other hand and leg, hold, and go out to the side a little bit. Just 20 to 30 degrees at most. Can you release pressure from your floor hand? Have fun playing with that and return to your table. What I hope you notice is how hot this can make you. It seems like such a no big deal pose, right? Extending, inhaling and holding, taking it out to the side. But if we're doing it right, we are using all the big muscles in the body and a lot of little ones that are quivering too. Check this set. And is it different on one side? And return. Good. Let's just do another round. Inhaling, extending, taking it out to the side, holding for a full breath. Slow return. Last time. Soft mouth, ujjayi, and return. Beautiful. We're going to come into forearm plank, get off our wrists a little bit. You can even roll out those wrists before you do so. Staying on your knees is an easy way to get there. You just come on down to your forearms like so, and then make sure again that you're in a little bit of a tuck and step back firmly one leg at a time onto the ball of the foot. If this is too much, drop the knees and relax the feet. Otherwise, right here, continue to breathe into what I hope is some kind of sped up heart rate a little bit. The heat, welcoming it. We say in yoga that we are stoking our internal fire that can burn through stagnation, physical, mental, emotional. So that's part of why we're almost always exhaling through the mouth. We're retaining, exhaling through the nose versus the mouth, is we're retaining that heat. You might continue to hold if this is still just feeling like a great edge for you. Otherwise, slowly in your own time, come on out and relax, taking the head to one side. You might enjoy some sighing breaths. How fully can you relax your body here? So bringing the hands into cobra. And a note about that, I always like to say that you actually want to bring your arms into cobra first. So in other words, shoulder heads are anchoring, elbows are in, then I plant my hands. Because otherwise people often end up with them in a place that makes them kind of shrug or wing. We want no shrugs, no wings, plant the hands. Anchor your pelvic triangle. First, just take a breath here and notice what's happening in your body. I've actually still got some quivering going on in my legs from all the work that we've been doing. And then as you're ready, let the inhale begin to extend you and exhale, return you. So just using some kind of micro movements to start. Really feel the muscles that are working. Letting the breath move you through space. And perhaps you get inspired in bigger movements. Remember, you're always reaching through the crown and the heart. There is no goal to peel yourself back, because that will just compress the spine. And one of the great gifts of yoga is decompression of the spine. If you want to add a little engagement of the arms into a king cobra, go for it. No wings, no shrugs. And apply a little pressure, still drawing the heart forward. 3 more. Last one. And press back to child's pose. Keep the glutes engaged and butt back to heels. I like taking my knees wide so there's plenty of room for my belly and hips to relax. Nice deep breath. See if you can direct it into the low back space. Enjoy another long inhale and exhale, giving into gravity. Then keeping your hips where they are, see if you can kind of spider walk your fingers forward. Forehead still resting on the mat, or if you needed to, you could always put a block under the forehead. And then see if you can just keep walking those fingers forward so that there's no part of your arm touching. You can also bring them out a little bit if this is creating neck tension. Breathing here, I'm hopeful that you can feel all the work in the upper back and shoulders. Right now, to me, to get the full inhale, it's feeling good to even let my head come up a little bit and then return. Let's do one more full breath. And on your exhale, just relax those arms. On an exhale, nice core support. Come on up. We're going to come into downward facing dog, and I challenge you to kind of play a game. Imagine that it's just your core body like a harness bringing you up. Almost no pushing effort from the hands or shoulders. Long inhale, exhaling, cat back. And let that harness take the hips up and back. Knees bent, and then playing, pedaling one heel towards the floor and the other. You might take it out wide. You can take a little side to side as you explore. Good. And then find, if you can, your strongest, most peaceful expression of downward facing dog. So yes, there is effort in the upper body, but it's a rooting and reaching that can feel so good. So you're anchoring through the whole hand, sending the tailbone up and back. And again, that low belly in particular is supporting that driving of the hips up and back. Then see if you can work your heels a little towards the floor. Doesn't matter if they ever get there or if the legs are ever straight. Can you take 3 breaths into the intensity you've created? Last breath, is there more? Inhaling, flow forward into your plank. You could do knees down. And then we're just going to drop right onto our belly for a creepo bow. If you prefer standing quad stretch like we did earlier, go for it. You could also just do a nice little chaturanga on your way down. Bend those elbows in. Nice. Engaging through the glutes as you bend the knee to reach for that ankle. So that's already getting our low back supported, and then we'll reach for the other ankle. So pre-bow, as I made up, is this wonderful position. Once you've grabbed the ankles, if you're able to, rest back on the forehead, squeeze the glutes down, and just notice the stretch that arrives through that whole front body. Keep working the knees towards each other. Then, if you'd like to blossom into bow and it doesn't bother knees or anything else, it's an awesome, awesome pose. Anchor pelvic triangle. Inhale, press the ankles into the hands. Exhale, soften. Again. Each time letting those shoulder heads come down and back. Big belly breath. One more. And release. Press back, child's pose. Again, the alternate for this would be your ragdoll, just standing on the feet and letting your low back stretch there. Nice long inhale. Exhale, tucking that tailbone. Come on up to your table pose. We're going to add in a wonderful resistance stretching that is great for the shoulder health, but it's particularly useful for releasing all through this kind of rib cage area, intercostals and so on, that are such a part of whether our shoulder is comfortable or not. So you're on your knees for this pose, and you're just going to come down to one forearm bringing it just a little towards the center line if you can. Anchor the shoulder heads down and get nicely into your core. Take a nice long inhale, and you're going to begin tractioning your forearm down and back as if you wanted to draw it towards your knees. Good. On the exhale, keep that tractioning and slowly send your butt back towards the heels. Doesn't matter how far it gets, just to your edge. Inhaling, return to your neutral starting position. Tractioning down and back. Slowly take the hips back, exhaling. And while there's a lot of effort going on in the body, you should again be peaceful in the eyes, the neck, the breath as best you can. Inhaling neutral, exhaling, tractioning and back. One last time here on this side. I like kind of holding there at the end of the stretch and just sort of letting the tractioning go and enjoying the extra stretch with gravity. All right, let's do the other side. Coming down onto the other forearm, connecting through the core. Inhaling, tractioning down and back. As I exhale, slowly send the hips back. Is this side different? Inhaling neutral. It's really important we get plenty of inhale. That tells our body that we're well, we're safe, we're whole. Tractioning, exhaling back. One last time. And you could easily do 6 or 7 or 10 or whatever of these on each side. Holding, noticing, and releasing up. Nice. We're going to return to standing, give those wrists a little roll out. And I want to explore our yoga mudra. It's just a nice counter stretch, I think, for some of this work that we did, kind of a nice add-on. If you have a difficult time interlacing the hands and getting the arms straight, you could grab a strap. I've been known to use a sock, a cardigan, whatever. And you just want to let your hands come as far apart as you need to in order to let the shoulder heads rotate down and back and get the arms straight. And you should feel kind of a shoulder blade sandwich. Maybe you just stay here and upright and rotate to each side, breathing into it. Again, the hands are pressing off of the hips. Alternately, you could take those feet a little wide, knees bent, and fold, and play with that similar rotation. You can also pump the arms. I think it's helpful to return the fist to the hips and pump them away again. Again, I'm hoping you're feeling the same stretch or similar stretch in that same area, some of the work that we got during our traction. Just notice what's there for your body. And then when you're done, come on up and let's bring the hands together in front. Feet kind of nice and wide, a little bit of a tailbone tuck, and we're kind of in a cat back. We're going to send those fists forward and then go a little right and left, or maybe a lot if this stretch feels good and deep. And release. Good. Let's just do some nice organic circles, one arm at a time. Sometimes it's good to get a little floppy, right? We work so hard in our yoga to engage and do good alignments. Sometimes you just want to get floppy. Nice. I want you to check in with your neck again. So go ahead and place that collar and begin moving around the rim of the hands. You can also make the full circle and go into the front. The reason our hands being here is so useful is that without them, a lot of people tend to drop the head all the way back onto the upper back, and that's just, again, compressing the spine. So here we're maintaining the space in the discs and the vertebrae. It's really useful. We're going to move that stretch and release into the jaw area. Again, often tight because of some of the SCM tension pulling here, but also just if we're stressed or whatever, people tend to clench. So first, if you would just take your fingers, kind of squeeze them together so they're strong, and just start moving this tissue, if you will, that is between your lower and upper jaw. And you might be able to work right back into where they come together. And maybe you just want to kind of take one finger, the middle or index, and kind of explore. Then open your jaw, and you're going to use those fingers to kind of draw down. And if you can kind of hold in that drawdown, I'm hoping you can feel stretch way into the throat, the tongue. We can add on to this by adding a lion stretch, so sticking that tongue out. You may need to swallow afterwards. Nice. And then go ahead and take your hands and just massage this area right where everything joins here, kind of right under and behind the ear. Sometimes we find some really good sore spots and we know they need that love up. Good. And let's just relax and love up the hands too after that work. All right. So we're going to do a balancing pose, which again, ideally is challenging. So I want you to make it as challenging as you need to so that you're wobbling a little bit. And then the big challenge that I offer you today is to be wobbling, having a hard time being upright, and to create no tension through the face. So we're going to start with the lack of tension. So you can take just the tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth again. Mouth is closed, but the molars are not touching. So see if you can create spaciousness there at the back where the jaw comes together. Imagine kind of a softening and spreading through the forehead and the eyes. And you can have the eyes open, but in a very soft drishti gaze to help with balance. So we're going to be coming into tree, as you may have guessed. Bring your feet all the way together. Big toes touching, spread the other toes. And what's going to help most with our balance is the deep engagement of the inner thigh glutes and pressing down through the inner line of the feet. So as you bring one foot into kickstand or even up to the calf, check in with that standing leg that it didn't cock out to the side, that it's still squeezing and rooting through that inner line of the foot. As you are ready to do so, evolve your balance challenge. You may take the arms out into tree branches. If you're not wobbling at all, you might close the eyes. You might intentionally become like a great tree in a storm. But either way, find some wobbling and intensity, and then check if you can stay relaxed in both breath and all those neck and face muscles. There's often a tendency to hold our breath when we are focused on something or if we're nervous. So this is a great place to practice breathing inside of instability, the unknown. As you're ready, we'll explore the other side. If you're someone whose mind is just particularly active, balancing poses are one of the best go-tos, I think, because it's really hard to think about much else. So as you're ready, find the other side. Find some wobble, some proprioception happening in that floor foot, and then find ease in breath and face. You should feel that your mouth is so relaxed you could hold something very delicate there on your tongue, a little flower bud or something, and not squish it. Finding steadiness of breath inside the unstable pose. And in your own time, release out. Good. Go ahead and love up those feet. We're going to come into last little bit of focused core work that we've often done at the beginning, but we're going to do it at the end of class again today. We're going to do robot. And we're going to do a few rounds so you have a chance to progress. I'd rather have you start small and be really able to attend to, one, are you using your core the way we would like and not using the neck? And two, are you able to keep some steadiness of breath going? Again, that's usually our first sacrifice, is that we hold the breath or make it really kind of contracted. So when you're ready, first come down to your back body. Bring the knees tight to the belly, and let's just rock a little side to side. That might feel like a nice release of the low back after tree pose. And then coming to stillness, take a deep breath here. Exhale, power down through your back. So your knees are still into your belly, and I just want you to power down through the back and notice that engagement, that deep contact with the floor and your low back. That's what we want to be able to create the whole time that we're in our robot pose. So as you're ready, engage down there. Take a nice inhale. Can you breathe while engaged? It's going to get harder as we add counterbalancing, so always return to the place where you could maintain engagement and breath. All right, we're going to raise the feet up and keep them parallel but not touching. Feet are flexed. And then staying engaged with the back, slowly take the knees as far forward as you can towards directly above the hips. If having them there is too much, bring them a little towards you. Take the arms straight up, shoulder heads anchor, and please explore here with just staying in this neutral position, 3 breaths. Inhaling slow, deep and wide in spite of the effort. Exhaling, check that you're deeply engaging. Now if you like, on the inhales, you can kind of let go of that engagement so we're not just holding, but always return it on the exhale. The exception to that is going to be if you decide to join me in what I call in flight, you have to still keep engaged at that time. All right, so notice how that's feeling. You can then take a break, relax those feet, roll the ankles, and let's go again. Inhaling, find neutral, exhaling, engage, and slowly just take one heel away from you towards the floor. And then return. Inhaling. Again, this is where you can relax totally through the back if you want. Exhale, re-engage, and take the other heel away. And I want you to watch and notice if the neutral leg is moving on you. It shouldn't be. We want it stable. Good. Let's try that again, going a little further through each leg. Inhaling, exhale, engage, and just notice how far you can go and stay engaged. And come on back. Again, you can relax completely if you need a break on that inhale. Exhale, engage, rooting down and other heel moving towards the floor. And return. Okay. So if you're noticing movement in what should be the stable leg, excuse me, I would just stick with legs. If you start to move arms, it becomes what I call discombobulated robot. It's really hard to keep track of your limbs. So as you're ready, if you'd like to add arms, inhale, neutral. Exhale, one heel, and now opposite hand. The opposite hand is moving towards the wall behind you. And coming on back. Again, relax as much as you need to on the inhale. Exhale, root, engage, other set of limbs. That arm stays straight, by the way. It's not reaching for the floor. And we come on back. You could do another round like that. I'm going to offer the in-flight that I was mentioning. And I like this because it is an opportunity to see if you can breathe while holding all that muscular effort. So we'll start in our neutral position. Nice long inhale. Exhale, root, taking opposite limbs, opposite foot and hand, pause in your position and breathe. So I'm needing to simultaneously use my core muscles to draw down while letting my belly expand with breath. When you're ready on the exhale portion of your breath, come on back. Whew, might need a breath in between. And let's do the other side. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, anchor, root on down. Other set of limbs. Check that the stable limbs aren't moving. Pause in flight. Really reaching through your arms. Breathe. And come on back on your exhale. Whew. Let's take it into spinal twist, rocking all the way to the left for embryo pose and opening up with that right arm behind you. Now, as you begin to sweep the right arm up towards the wall behind you or your head, however you want to think of it, consider really letting your head roll along for this journey. Just getting some nice neck movement there. Would it feel good to extend that top leg by creating a little support with the other hand? And as you're ready, come on through center to your twist on the other side. Again, letting the arm and the head explore the freedoms and the stretches here. Deep breath. Maybe extending that top leg as an add-on. And slowly returning to center. So, invitation to either do bridge pose here, or I'm going to offer a little add-on. It's kind of an interesting engagement and strengthening pose if it's not too much. So we're crossing the right ankle onto the left thigh, just like you do to approach our reclined pigeon. But we're actually going to send the hips up like we do into bridge pose. I'm going to keep my hands on the hips for right now for just kind of attention. And then once up, if I feel like it, I might add that deep engagement downward of the upper arms. Either way, kind of working those shoulder heads a little underneath you. Noticing what's here. And if you'd like, you can kind of release your hips a little and press up to your fullest edge. If you're feeling any pinching, kind of sciatic-y stuff, don't do it. Just do bridge pose. And slowly release. Again, give that leg a little kick or whatever would feel good. Other side. And it can be very interesting to notice, is this side easier, more difficult? Different kind of sensation? Breathing. It's one of the things that really defines our practice as yoga, that we're bringing breath into intensity versus asking it to wait until we're out of any kind of effort. I'm going to take my legs into straddle, just using my hands for a little bit of support, kind of behind the knees, calves, or hamstrings. You could also grab a strap or scarf. Some people prefer having their hands to the insides for support. It's just kind of up to you. And taking a few breaths there, pulsing and pressing through the heels. And if this is too much, by the way, remember you can just do like a half straddle and do one at a time, or maybe you just prefer that today. Otherwise, vigorous pressing through the heels. Nice. Once again, come into butterfly, passive or active. If you're doing the active pose, see if you can press the knees away from you. And again, you might even add a sit-up motion. Release the feet one last time into bridge position. But we're going to do something a little bit different here. Again, I'm really interested in waking up our back body today. So I'm going to ask you to come up into your bridge. And don't make it a super high one. I wouldn't add yoga mudra arms underneath. Get the shoulder heads underneath a little bit. And then I just want you to traction, if you would. Imagine you're trying to pull your heels back towards your shoulders. And relax it and traction it. Just do that a few times. Breathing. And release slowly, slowly down. Nice. Knees to belly. We're going to come up to seated. If you like spinal rocking, you're welcome to get there that way. So taking the legs out into straddle. They don't have to be super wide. Again, there's no goal to get to. But if even this is hard and you can't straighten, you're kind of hunched back, that's where you'd want to grab like a throw or a little pillow, or you can sometimes even roll up your yoga mat and tuck it under the butt a little bit, just to encourage you to be able to be upright. And then we're going to encourage our torso to fold forward, starting with the belly. So I'm not directing with the head. I'm actually going to take the low belly towards the floor, then the chest towards the wall in front of me. I like using my hands from behind to support. This can be a really fun one too, by the way, if you have a wall behind you. If you've ever craved a good stretch in this pose and you've never gotten it, you're like, how come everybody else gets one? The wall can be a wonderful assistant in this case. So you take advantage of that. Breathe. Notice. Let's do a couple more breaths here. Always giving the inhale room. Nice supportive core on the exhale. And then slowly walk those legs in. And I want you to just flex through the heels, so your heels might even come right up off the floor, and then rotate the toes in towards each other and then out. And again, really flexing through the heels. So you can see I'm engaging down through my quadriceps towards the floor. And then relax it and roll those ankles out. We're going to bring the heels together in Baddha Konasana, bound ankle pose here, and just see how far you can walk them in, and then how far you can walk your butt towards the heels. It doesn't matter how far we get. And then invitation to just sort of butterfly wing. And if it feels good, one nice long kind of holding, pressing your thighs, your knees towards the floor. And I'm just using the muscles of my hips. I'm not pressing with the hands. And release. I'm going to release the right leg out. Keep your left foot in. And I want you to see if you can take your middle and index finger between the big toe and the second toe. If that is just ouchy, you could grab the blade of the foot or the ankle, or actually a strap or scarf again would be easier, because it's a little hard in this position for us to kind of hold the ankle. So if you can get a grip on the toe or blade of the foot, all the better. And I'm just leaning out onto my left hand so that I can invite a straightening through that right leg. See if you can also kind of activate the thumb. Depending on how you're using your hand, this may not be an option, but otherwise you activate the thumb down towards that index finger. So it's a very kind of finished mudra or position. Shoulder head anchored, and you're letting your heart and your gaze move up past the foot towards the heavens. Nice long breath. And then you might swing that leg just a little side to side. The legs are grateful to have so much release when we aren't weight bearing, right? So it's a nice opportunity for them. And we'll bring that foot back to the floor, extending through that left leg, reaching out onto my right hand, and extending through that left heel. Again, holding however you can, whatever works. Raising your heart up to the heavens. come into some breath locks. And if you know that you'd like to do that seated, just make sure again that you have a comfortable seat. Otherwise, you're welcome to come on down to your back body. I am going to offer you here at the end of our practice. Actually, you know what? Let's do this before we do our breath locks. Yeah. So go ahead and grab either your block, if that's what you're going to put underneath the shoulder blades or bra strap area, just south of your shoulder blades, or you can use a little rolled up something or other. I sometimes use the block under my ribs, but then have the rolled up blanket as support for my head so that it's not kind of falling backward and compressing my spine. So coming down, position your object so that the shoulder blades are above that object and free to move. So it's one of the huge gifts of this position is that it allows some freedom in the shoulder heads to drop back and the trapezius muscles to let go. So if you can, reach with one hand back and feel how soft this area is that moves from the neck to the shoulder here, these trap muscles that tend to be very tight and sore on people. Notice how soft they are in this position. That's because this muscle actually attaches also to the blade. So if we spend our day with our shoulder blades kind of winging out and our shoulder heads forward, it's just tight, it cannot relax. We're giving it the opposite, freedom. You can tuck those shoulder heads underneath you and in. And you may just enjoy breathing here. You can also add one arm at a time, reaching up and then overhead. And again, you can kind of pulse it towards the ear in a way like we did in our spinal twist. This is meant to be deeply therapeutic, so if you're in fact noticing any discomfort or kind of protection, you need to make it more comfortable. Again, maybe tucking something under the head a little bit. I've got my knees bent, for example, in this position today. It'll create a little more support for low back. That's an option. When you are ready to come off, and do not let me rush you, make sure you roll a little to one side. Then we're going to come into our breath locks. But you might want to, do a little knees to belly or just notice what is useful at this time. All right, so breath locks are a marvelous way to train ourselves to get really slow and deep breath. Also to relax in the face of discomfort, which has been a little bit of a theme here today. So noticing when we're striving or nervous about falling over, how our breath gets kind of held or contracted. In this case, we want the holding of the breath to be a peaceful experience. So this isn't a contest. It's not hold it as long as you can. It's hold it, notice little bits of discomfort, and see if you can seduce your body into relaxing around it, right? Recognizing you're safe. You can break the lock whenever you want to. So as you're ready, close your eyes and first just tune in to your breath, rising and settling. And notice where you're feeling it in your body after all this yoga, after all this stretching. And as you're ready, make your first breath lock the holding out, external kumbhaka, external breath lock. And as you notice these first little bits of pressure, scan the body, the skull, the eyes, the tongue, the chest. Invite everything to keep melting. Can I soften around this? When I no longer can, then I break the lock and I inhale and hold in, internal kumbhaka. And maintaining really soft neck, tongue, eyes. and I soften around this. And then when necessary, releasing. I find it helpful when first learning this or practicing it to take a neutral breath in between. It could even be a sighing breath. And then please come into another round. And I'm going to invite you to spend the last few minutes of our practice simply doing breath lock, holding out and holding in, with or without that neutral breath in between. Totally up to you. Scanning your body for tension, seducing it to soften, spread, allow the breath lock. Are you able to discern a different quality of sensation during the external breath lock or internal breath lock? The external breath lock is a vacuum, and the internal breath lock, we have air inside that is expanding. So see if you can notice the subtle difference. We refer to it as pressure or tension, but they're quite different. Inviting you to notice what this experience is like. Do you enjoy it? Is it relaxing, meditative? You might want to continue for a few more minutes. If it's creating any kind of stress or kind of anxiety, notice that too, and consider practicing these breath locks more regularly. And I think you'll find in general that our anxiety tends to recede as we become versed in the breath locks, and knowing that, again, we can breathe at any time and we can get really skilled at softening around discomfort. I'm going to be closing our practice with ohms and the bowl. Happy to have you join in or just receive the vibration. Gathering a long inhale. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Hey, I hope you have a most awesome day. Thanks so much for being here with me.